aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of Williams to Demon. Bucks, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Back at it again. Hope you enjoyed the show this afternoon with Sean Salisbury. Rhino and yours truly will take you here through the hour, and we've got a lot to talk about. And Ryan, there's been a lot of debate this summer, maybe not even debate, but conversation as it relates to the Kings and who's going to be the starting two guard. And you think it's going to be Keon Ellis. I think it's going to be Keon Ellis. We both agree that Malik's probably better coming off the bench. And so what does that mean for Kevin Huerter, right?
Yeah, it seems to be the debate right now in training camp, Grant. And Kevin Huerter's kind of the wild card in this. Still wearing the red jersey, as Mike Brown said today to the media, like Brock Purdy, because he can't go live with the team. But definitely a little bit of a debate there. I think Keon's the man. I think one thing, Grant, we can agree on, Malik's going to be the sixth man based off Mike Brown's comments.
Well, and I think he should be, because you have to have that guy coming off the bench. I mean, you look at the really good teams in the league, they all have that guy who comes off the bench and can change games. And Malik can change games.
Absolutely can change games. And what does that look like if you put Kevin Huerter in that second unit with Malik? Is there an opportunity there for spot up threes? Coach Brown actually talked a little bit today about what each player brings to the starting lineup with the two guard. Here's Coach Brown on what Kevin does with that group with DeMar added to it.
One of the things that Kevin brings to the table is his pace, especially in the half court. He comes flying off of DHOs. If he doesn't get it, he knows how to space quickly. He's a threat, so he's never going to be left open, which means there's going to be more space for other guys on the floor. And similar to DeMar, as you get to know Kevin and watch him closely, you see that, hey, he can pass the thing. Now he can't pass the thing. He's got a great medium game, great float game, great pull-up game, and he can finish, and he's bigger than what you think, too. So there are a lot of things that he brings to the table that others don't, just like, I could say the same thing with Keon and or Malik when it comes to that spot.
Grant, we've seen Kevin finish, but that was a problem last year for him.
Yeah. I've seen Kevin Huerter play a lot. You've seen him play a lot. I mean, he's a capable player. I think a lot of times it's more upstairs with him. I think sometimes he can be his own worst enemy with his approach to everything. But, I mean, he's a talented player. He was good with Atlanta before the Kings acquired him. And we've seen him play very well for Sacramento in stretches, but it needs to be, more consistent.
Yeah, it definitely needs to be more consistent. And when you think of him in that starting lineup, he's one of those guys, Grant, that you got to get going, right? There's an expectation. You got to get him a few shots. And we've had a lot of conversations about Keon, and that's something different that Mike Brown also addressed today when you have Keon in the lineup.
Think about it, Keon, out of all three of those guys, is probably the one that will command the least amount of shots and or the time the ball's in his hands. And, he's shown, too, in the last 2 years that he's a capable catch and shooter. And if you leave him open, he'll make you pay in the catch and shoot shot from the three-point line. He shot 40-some% from three in both years. So for us, that is a little bit of a factor, making sure that we put the right combinations on the floor that fit. And instead of just, trying to throw guys out there because we think those guys can all score the best.
So I think Mike Brown brings up a good point. And now the question becomes defensively, what does each player bring to that lineup? Who do you give the nod to, Grant?
I think the Kings' identity this year is not going to be anything close to defense. It's going to be outscoring the other team. How many points can we score? I think it's going to be similar to what it was, a few years ago with this team offensively. Defense is not going to be the staple of this team. There are some guys that can play defense, but let's not kid anyone. You have a lineup that is a potent offensive lineup. You have to go with your strength, and the strength of this Kings team is their offense. And I think that they have one of the top offensive units in the league, and that's where they're going to go. Anybody that thinks that this team's going to be the team that we saw in the final 8 weeks of the season last year. That's not going to happen. That team's not taking the floor this year.
Yeah, conversely, though, you still got to play the other end of the court. And when
Yes.
you look at it, Keon and De'Aaron together really worked the best the second half of the season. Now, they were forced into that because of injuries, but, the onus really becomes on Keon Ellis. Can he knock down that open shot, Grant? Because when you have multiple distributors now on the floor, there's no room to let them sag off. You can't give them that advantage of saying, Keon, we can drag off of him a little bit, right? And so if he knocks down that shot, Grant, that's going to make it hard for teams offensively.
That's true. But as far as De'Aaron goes, I've at times thought that when De'Aaron does lock down defensively, it takes away from his offense because he works so hard on that end of the floor. So there's a give and take with everything. And it's going to be fun to watch the first couple of weeks. The biggest concern I see right now with the Kings is their depth down low.
Yeah.
With the injury, particularly to Trey Lyles. And I've got to believe he's not playing at the beginning of the season. So who's going to pick up that void? Because I think that when Lyles is healthy, he brings a lot to this team.
He brings a ton to this team. He spreads the floor for that second unit. And that's exactly how Malik Monk, Domantas Sabonis are able to operate with that pick and roll many times when they're on the floor together. It's going to be Keegan Murray. Really, you look at Keegan, I think you're looking at him getting some extended minutes. In fact, he talked about his role a little bit earlier today, and it's just that he is going to be guarding the best player on the other team every night.
Just be on the best player on the other team, and then offensively, just be able to be more consistent, hitting open shots. And if I'm in a rhythm, just keep that rhythm and things like that. So just continue my aggression on both ends of the floor.
Speaking media day, you mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, we know what Keegan does defensively. If he could ever get his offense a little bit more consistent, that to me puts this Kings team in a position where they're going to be fighting right around in 4 or 5 spot in the West. I really believe that. That's if Keegan can be a little bit more consistent offensively.
Yeah, and you wonder if the defense takes away from the offense for him. And I think that's something we're going to see early in the season because I think there is going to be a little bit more of an opportunity for Keegan to get similar looks to what he saw in 22-23 because of the players he's going to be on the court with.
My biggest issue with the Kings right now is what happens when De'Aaron is out of the lineup with an injury. And he will get hurt at some point. Hopefully it's not serious, but he'll miss some games.
Sure.
Then who fills that void? Who's able to keep the team running offensively in a way that is not just a major step back? And that's the issue I see with this team right now.
Yeah, it's a question. Look, that's why they have flexibility in the front office, in the cap. They can pay attention to the waiver wire, but in the immediate, you're looking at Malik Monk, possibly Jordan McLaughlin, Grant, but he's dealing with an ankle injury right now. As we sit, Malik's going to be that guy. He's going to have to play that combo guard.
Well, and good luck. Let's hope he can do it, right? I mean, let's hope he can do it. That's for darn sure. So, it's just fun that we're talking about Kings practices, and let's see if this team can get back to where they were 2 years ago, and that was the number 3 team in the West and a team that had won 48 games and, a team that went all the way to the wire in Game 7 against the Warriors, whereas last year they didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, Malik acknowledged that today about expectations. He said, we didn't even make the playoffs. So I like where their head's at in that spot. It feels like there's a little bit of a different energy. We touched on it last night, and a reshuffling of the deck. Hopefully that gives them that fresh mindset and new start this year.
All right, good news for Memphis as Jaren Jackson Jr.'s hamstring MRI revealed a low-grade strain. So that is certainly good news for Minnesota. Luka Doncic is already out for the Dallas Mavericks for at least a week with a calf strain. And when you hear calf strain, I don't know about you, but I always think the worst based on what we saw last year with Joe Burrow, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I can go on and on. When we hear even anything with the calf, we're like, uh-oh. And if you remember, this was an issue for Luka last year in the playoffs when he went to the final. He was dealing with this and Achilles soreness. I don't know, but this is a little, I'm like, oh, okay, you know.
Yeah, as a Mavericks fan, you hope it's precautionary at best, but neither of us are doctors, but these are the things that seem to linger. You pointed out the examples. I'll also point to Kevin Durant. Look at when he was dealing with some calf stuff, and then all of a sudden you tear your Achilles. So hopefully it's nothing too serious for that Mavericks organization, Luka.
Well, as far as Luka goes, he was hit in that area. And according to the report, there is no concern about his availability for the opener against San Antonio later this month. So that's good news for Dallas.
Yeah, that is pretty much as good of news as you can get. There's a difference between being hit there, much different, and then building that pole. Yeah.
Big difference.
Absolutely.
But again, I said this yesterday and I'll say it again. There are the difference right now between, and I'm just going to go from 3 to 10 right now. I'm not going to go 1 and 2, all right, because it's debatable. So I'm going to leave them. I'm going to leave. Let's just, for sake of conversation, leave Oklahoma City out of the equation, and let's just, for sake of conversation, leave Minnesota. Okay.
Okay.
My opinion is the difference between 3 and 8, and maybe 3 and 10, is one injury. That's the difference.
Yeah, it's very close. And there's those wild cards too that you kind of take out of that injury category. 2 of them is, or I should say 1, Memphis, because what they have coming back, they're already dealing, as we talked with Jaren Jackson a little bit with that, but also Phoenix, Grant. I just don't know what Phoenix is going to do this year. Could they be one of those teams that's toward the top of that 3 spot, or are they a team that's going to fall apart and it's going to be time to blow it up?
I don't see Phoenix being that team. I really don't. I don't. I think Phoenix is in the bottom tier of the West in terms of, when I mean bottom tier, they're 4 to 8. They're not 1 to 4 and maybe 4 to 10.
Yeah, you know, the wild card there is Tyus Jones, because when you have Devin Booker as they did, I love him as a player too. Devin Booker last year, and you're asking Devin Booker to distribute, you are not properly using his talent. So you throw a distributor in there, maybe that balances things.
Love him. I've always loved Tyus Jones. I think he's a really good pickup for Phoenix. I just think they're too old in the tooth.
Yeah, and what do you do with Bradley Beal? Jerry Reynolds said yesterday, maybe bring him off the bench. Is he going to be open to it? And that's an expensive 6-man, Nabes.
The West is getting old. When you look at Golden State and Curry, you look at the Lakers, you look at Phoenix. That's why you have to be so concerned, if you're Sacramento, looking at who's coming up in your rear view mirror. Houston, okay? San Antonio, right? I'm not ready to put Portland in there yet, but I'm definitely putting San Antonio and Houston in that category.
Yeah, you have to. You bring in top draft pick. You got Wemby with some more seasoning on him, goes to the gold medal game in the Olympics. That's always something huge for a player of that age.
So, again, that's why an injury for even a period of 2 to 3 weeks can be the difference when you count 82 games up. I mean, look at how close the Kings were last year. I mean, you could have said, what if Malik Monk had not been hurt at the end of the year, right?
Sure. And he was just one of the names. So, you could almost throw Dallas in that group that's getting old, minus
I agree.
Luka.
I don't disagree with that. I think Dallas is a very fragile team in that regard as well. So, to me, there are a couple of things that I'm very interested in seeing in the first month of the season. I'm seeing how Minnesota does with a new look lineup now.
Sure.
Okay. And I'm also very curious to look at New Orleans, because they've had some major changes on their franchise. And I want to see how they're able to play down low with the players that they've lost, right? They lose Valanciunas. They lose Larry Nance Jr. They pick up DeJounte Murray to run the point. So this is a different looking team right now, which, if I'm Sacramento, I want a different looking New Orleans, because I couldn't beat them last year. That's my attitude.
Yeah, spot on. It's not going to take away from their physicality on the perimeter, and that's something the Kings had problems with all year. And I think that's why the Kings are really preaching getting back to pace. Monty McNair's talked about it, Coach Brown. They want to be in the top 5 in the league, because with DeJounte Murray running the show and Zion Williamson now losing weight and being in the best shape of his life, New Orleans is going to pick up that pace as well.
Yeah, if Zion Williamson can play at least 70 games, all right?
Big ask.
I know, but I'm just saying, if he can hit the number 70, I don't see any way in the world the Pelicans are not a top 8 team in the West
No.
because there's nobody in the league that can guard him.
Yeah, 100%. They can pretty much at that point play any way you want. They can stretch you out and they can pound you inside. Just because he lost weight doesn't take away from the strength that he has underneath.
Cody has a great point, Grant. You always say don't count out Danny Ainge and the Jazz. Well, you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
100% correct. Danny will figure out a way to get this team back in the conversation. I'm not ready to knock them out of the top 8, but I'm also not ready to put them in. They're one of those bubble teams to me.
Yeah, Lauri Markkanen depends on his health. We keep saying that word health. I mean, he is a superstar in this league and just a tough guard all the way around for any team.
Exactly. So I just, this is going to be so much fun this year to see the teams that we're not really talking about. Memphis is another team that to me is very intriguing.
Yeah. How does Zach Edey change that formula? You got to think it's a little bit easier of a transition for a guy like Ja Morant losing to Steven Adams to have a Zach Edey in, because you've still got physicality on the perimeter. And we talk about Zach Edey's 3-point game, which isn't being shown now, but as the season goes along, that could also be a problem for other teams.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to tell you about Bennett's. They are awesome. Prime seafood and steaks at Bennett's. Their happy hours 2 to 6 daily. Sips and taste. It is awesome to be there. Don't forget about their brunch on the weekends, whether it's Sacramento, Roseville, or the West Side Grill in Rockland. If you go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com, you can make a reservation and more. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Prime seafood and steaks at Bennett's. Folks, New Works Plumbing. I've loved talking about them every day for the last several years, and they are available around the clock 24/7. Just go to SackServicePlumbing.com or call the number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. Once again, that's SackServicePlumbing.com or 916-713-1010. That's New Works Plumbing. Do you know that I started my podcast 4 years ago this week?
Really?
Yep.
Really?
And New Works Plumbing has been with me from day one, and love their loyalty and everything about their business. And so I want to give them a very special thank you.
It's amazing. I love New Works, not only because I don't have to clean the hair out of the drains, but they do a great job of letting us know what could be a problem soon and taking care of that as well. I got to ask really quick, because I don't know that I've asked you this before sitting down for that first podcast with the changing world of the media. What were your feelings going into that?
Just tell the truth. I didn't write anything down. I sat in my old house in El Dorado Hills the day that I moved out of the house.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
I recorded my podcast the day I moved out of the house. I did it in the morning. I saved it because I was going to be traveling across the country to South Florida, driving.
Mm-hmm.
My wife flew to get things set up. I drove with the dog. I stopped in Indianapolis for 2 days to visit Scott Pollard. I then stopped in Crossville, Tennessee to visit my brother and his wife for 3 nights, played some golf with him.
There you go.
And got in a car and drove to Miami. So the trip took me all together, including the stops in Indianapolis and Tennessee, 9 days, 10 days. And so I knew that I had to record my podcast and have it because I wasn't sure about logistically how I was going to do everything. I also recorded a podcast, though, in Indianapolis with Scott Pollard that I released in episode 2 or 3 or 4. I can't remember, but I did.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to, record a podcast there. But anyway, I recorded my podcast the day that I left El Dorado Hills. So you can't even imagine the emotions that I was experiencing. And when I got on I-80 to start the trek across country, the one thing I remember that always sticks out in my mind. When I was driving to Sacramento for the very first time in 1987, I had been to Sacramento via an airplane for my interview. But then 2 weeks later, when I was driving on I-80, this is before cell phones, so there's no GPS, there's no internet.
Pulling out
And
the
I remember driving on I-80 through Auburn, where then you can see the whole valley when you come down 80, right? And I remember that view. And you got to remember, I'm coming from Decatur, Illinois. So everything to me, I'm just so excited about. Okay. And it was the middle of July and it was 105 degrees and I didn't have any air conditioning. So, you know, I've got the windows open, you know, I mean, it wasn't a comfortable drive, but it was an exciting drive, if that makes sense. So I remember not knowing where to go when I got to Sacramento because I was staying at the old Woodlake Hotel on Highway 160.
Yes.
Across from Channel 31.
Yep.
And so I remember guessing when I got to the split of I-80 and Business 80. I remember because I really didn't have a map. I was just going by feel.
Yeah.
And I remember choosing Business 80 because I'm thinking most Business 80s, or they don't even call it that anymore. I think they call it the Capital City Freeway. But the point is, it was Business 80 back then. Take you through the most of the city. That's why they have it, right? If you stay on the interstate, very often you're going on the outskirts. Like if you stay on I-80, you're really going around the outskirts of Sacramento. You're not going. So I said, okay, I'm going to go on Business 80. And I remember being on Business 80 and then seeing the sign for Highway 160, which I knew the TV station was on Highway 160 because I'd been on it before. And I ended up right at the hotel by chance. So when I finished my podcast, which was, you know, me opening up about everything that happened to me. It was the first time, by the way, that anybody had heard from me since my last radio show in May.
Right.
So no, I had been off social media. I had done very few interviews, like very few. I had been dark for most of June, all of July, all of August, all of September. Then all of a sudden, here I come launching If You Don't Like That. And I wanted to make sure that I was able to say what I wanted to say. And so I just reflected back on everything, talked about everything. And as you well know, because I've talked to you about this, I didn't have anything written down.
Mm-hmm.
I just started talking and I got done with my podcast. And to be honest with you, I never even listened to it until after it dropped about 10 days later. And I was out for a walk in Miami and I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to listen to this. And that's the first time I listened to it.
Incredible. I can't imagine the emotions, and I can't imagine coming here without a map or with the map as opposed to GPS.
Yeah, you know, I knew I-80 went to Sacramento, and I figured, you know, I'm not going to New York. I'm going to Sacramento. I'll find it. You know, that was my attitude.
Yeah, it would like
if you remember. And maybe you don't remember, but back in '87, Sacramento didn't really exist. I mean, Roseville didn't exist.
No,
none of that existed. I mean, it was totally different. I mean, it was, you know, the airport was literally like a tiny little hangar with a couple of planes. I mean, you know, it's nothing like it is today.
100%. And Woodlake was this hidden little gem of Sacramento. All these nice little houses skirted about, and you had the Woodlake Inn that you're talking about right there off 160. That used to be there. Incredible stuff. So but the fact that that was the first time.
So what do I remember? You asked me, I went on a very long tangent here. What I remember the most was how difficult. I was not sure I could concentrate to do my podcast enough because I had, we had left everything was gone in the house. The movers had come, with the exception of one guest bed in the far end of the house that the buyer asked if we could keep for them. And we said yes. So I plugged my equipment in on the room at the end of the house, plugged it into the wall, sat on the bed, and did my podcast from that room. And I remember packing up the equipment and literally walked into the living room, looked outside, said, "Come on, Bolo, let's go." Walked out to the garage, which was empty except for my car, and left. So, I mean, it really was the end of a chapter and the beginning of a chapter, all within a span of 1 hour of, okay, I'm doing my first ever podcast and I'm moving across the country. Like that was, I really haven't thought of it like I am right now, but that's closing one door and opening up another door. Realistically, figuratively, call it whatever you want.
Sure. That's a hell of an intersection that has no map on how to guide you. You said it perfectly about closing a chapter and opening a new one, but the empty house. Wow.
Okay, this is no, I was not cruising around Sacramento in 87 in my Toyota Supra. That was a couple of years later. I was cruising around Sacramento in a Subaru hatchback with no air conditioning. And when I got to Sacramento shortly thereafter, my car basically went kaput, which means broken. And my next car was a Nissan, because I was on a very low budget. And then my car after that was my favorite car of all time, my Toyota Supra with the top that came off. I love that car. That was my dream car. And I got that, I think, in I want to say 90 or 91.
Love it. What color was it, by the way?
It was the cran apple, kind of like the dark cran apple, dark, like burgundy, that color. It was great. It was my favorite car. It's the first time I ever met Chuck Peterson.
Chuck Peterson
was the general manager of Folsom Lake Ford and Folsom Lake Toyota, and the owner, I should say, not the general manager, the owner. And I remember walking in and meeting Chuck for the first time behind his desk. Toyota at that point was on Greenback in the Folsom area, not where they are currently. Yeah. So, and that was the start of to this day, a lifelong friendship.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Should we bring Condog into the mix?
Why the hell not? He's so excited he can't stand it. He's got only 3 more days left before he goes to game day.
Yeah, exactly.
Not only that, the news out of Sac State today has just been amazing.
Yeah, we have the renderings. Ryan will put that up for you.
Oh my, beautiful, man. Like, this is incredible. Within 24 hours, they raised $35 million to get a push to the Pac-12 right now. And they said they're not done yet. Their goal is $50 million. And if they raise $35 million that fast, you know what? Go Hornets.
I'll believe it when I see it. No discredit, because I know a lot of the people that are trying to get this put together, and I have a lot of respect for them. So I don't want to say anything that is going to upset them, because I hope it happens, because I think it would be great for Sacramento. I just don't think it's realistic, and I don't see the fan base that would go to support the team. I just don't. I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah.
Really quick. The Kings have announced that they will pledge or allow Sac State men's and women's basketball to play at the Golden One Center.
Yeah, of course. And we knew that would happen.
So, they could try and get this ball rolling. The Pac-12 still actually does need one more football team. They did get Gonzaga, but they still actually need an 8th football team. So Gonzaga does not have a football program. Maybe Gonzaga is trying to start up their football program. Who knows?
Well, Sacramento would be good for the Pac-12 because of the size of the TV market.
Oh, yeah. But
it wouldn't be good to have the game on TV and see 10,000 people at the stadium.
I mean, that's probably going to happen at the start while they build their program up. There's a lot of high school talent in this area that they could, snag up, and now they could say, well, now we're FBS, we're not FCS anymore. We're in the Pac-12. Obviously, it's not what the Pac-12 used to be, but a lot of those kids out of, American River, Delta College and stuff, JUCO transfers, Butte Community College. Could
That's
be
not the
a-
problem. The problem's not building a team and getting players. That's not the problem. That's the least of the problems. The problem is who's going to go to the games. I mean, I'm sorry, but Stanford and Cal have had the long history of programs, and very often when I used to turn their games on, the stadiums were empty. So why would I think that they're going to fill the stadium in Sacramento?
Well, you're going to get whoever they're playing, the opponent, if it's a Pac-12 game, those schools travel well. So you can figure probably 6,000 to 8,000 in the stadium from them. I guess my concern from a program standpoint is, although this all looks great and it's a great jump for Sac State, it could really set the program back football-wise. They're on a natural progression right now, and you got to walk before you run. And this would be a massive jump. I don't even know how to liken it, Grant, to go from where they're at now to the Pac-12. That's huge.
It would be like going from single A or double A baseball right into the majors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, props for taking the swing when the Pac-12 was getting rejected at this moment. They got rejected from Memphis and Tulane and UNLV. Hey, they said, you know what? These other schools, they're not biting on the worm anymore. Let's take a big swing and see if the Pac-12 will hit. And they swung. Let's see where this ball lands.
Well, my biggest problem with Sac State is it's a commuter school, and there are examples where it can work, but there are too many examples where in a commuter school, the students are not into the sports programs in terms of going and supporting.
Now the question is if they're not interested because they're an FCS, or they're just not interested at all because they start seeing Boise in town, San Diego State in town, Fresno State in town, Oregon State in town. Maybe they do get a little spark in them to actually become sports fans. Who knows?
I think that'll play a little bit of a part in it, but if you look, in my opinion, at the Sacramento college football landscape, Davis plays a lot of the same opponents at home that Sac State plays, and Davis's following is much larger from a student standpoint, and that's not so much a commuter school, but anything's possible, C-Dog.
Yeah, I know, Ryan. I know if that happens, I know you're going to see San Diego State at Sac State right away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go check out my Aztecs.
And again, there would be a honeymoon period with the stadium, so that would be a couple of years. But then after that, that is, once you've been to a stadium once or twice, you're like, okay, and the honeymoon period ends.
So, Grant, let me ask you this, because I brought this up on the King's Court. How, if at all, could this affect MLS in Sacramento? Because that stadium would be more than sufficient. I would think 25,000 people for an MLS team.
It's a good question. It's something that I'll talk with Kevin Nagel and get an answer for you. Right now, I don't know the answer to that, but we'll see. I think Kevin wants to own the stadium, but I think more than anything, Kevin wants what's best for Sacramento. He's been all about Sacramento. Mm-hmm. So if it's doable and then get an MLS team and he can help make it happen and it works financially for everyone, then yeah, I could see it happening.
Interesting stuff. I mean, like you said, and how you started it off, C-Dog, the fact that we are here from where Sac State was 3-4 weeks ago, it is incredible.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? If it does happen, I will be 205% for realignment. I like any negatives I had on realignment, they will wash away if this goes through, because you guys know I'm a diehard Kings fan. I'm a diehard college football fan. Well, guess what? They could marry together.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right.
Hey, don't forget that I am looking for rant ideas and a rant with Grant. Give me some ideas and I'll do that in a couple of minutes. A rant with Grant.
Still haven't got off on bodybuilding yet.
No,
we're waiting for our bodybuilding call.
Man, I would say one thing: the renderings do look beautiful.
Yes.
All right. But right.
It's the ease of getting there to a degree. You've been to many college towns that are also big college football towns. Everything surrounds the stadium, the campus, the housing, and that's not necessarily the case with Sac State. So that's where you look a step further and you say, how can we build this into more than just a stadium? And I think they're looking at ways to do that as well.
Well, again, you can't do it without people that want to get it done. And there are a lot of prominent people on the board, or maybe
Yeah.
the board, the committee, I'm not even sure what to call it, that are true Sacramentans that want the best for the community and have money. So, that's very positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Sea-Dog said it, the fact that the Pac-12 needs a football school. Who knows? Anything could happen. It's going to be a big jump in competition, though, man.
Oh, boy.
Huge.
Hey, I want to tell you about Sunrise Landing from Blazona Development, and many models to choose from at Sunrise Landing in Colusa. And if you go to ColusaSunrise.com, you can get all the information you need on their various models. Their lot sizes vary quite a bit. Good location adjacent to the Colusa Golf and Country Club. Good access through I-5, Highway 20, and Highway 45. I mean, it's really a good location. Sunrise Landing. Again, if you go to ColusaSunrise.com, you'll get all the information you need at beautiful Sunrise Landing. All right, rant ideas. Need some rant ideas, so fill my head up. All right.
Get them in there. It's really simple. Put a rant ID in the chat. You can call with them as well. We're still taking calls.
Have you watched the baseball playoffs at all?
I've caught some here and there. The Brewers, they got a home run in the 8th. You know what? Let me kick off the chat. Get them excited about rant ideas. In-game interviews with the players. In-game interviews. It's got to stop. The guy hits a home run and then he's in the dugout doing an interview.
TV tries to get too cute. It's the same thing now in the NFL games. They've gone the NBA style.
Yeah.
Where you have to interview the coach in the middle of the game. And you can see that the coach doesn't want anything to do with it and give very bland, like they're not going to reveal, what they need to do differently, with their game plan. Okay.
Exactly.
Like it's just asinine. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's trying to reach out to the viewer even more, make them part of the game, but that's when you get the worst answers too. It's nuts.
Well,
I do
the Padres have won, so they're on. They eliminate Atlanta. They win 5-4. The Brewers and the Mets are tied at 1 in terms of this mini 3-game series. And of course, what the Tigers did to the Astros was very impressive.
Yep, the Tigers doing it with pitching. Astros a little bit inconsistent this year. How you feeling about the Royals and the Yankees, Grant?
The Yankees' biggest problem is they don't put the ball in play enough for me. So the Yankees should win, and they should win handily, but their postseason failures just keep jumping right out at me. Stanton strikes out too much in the postseason. Judge strikes out. They don't put the ball in play.
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest issue. But if you look at the teams, I mean, the Yankees should win the series.
Yeah, where's the pressure level in New York for this Yankees team? I know coaching's been a question. Aaron Judge, not a question, but is it his time to win a championship finally?
I think that there are various people's jobs that are finally on the line. Aaron Boone, Brian Cashman. But I think to cement the legacy of Aaron Judge as one of the great Yankees of all time, he needs some jewelry.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't have any jewelry. Now, you could say, Don Mattingly is out at Monument Park and he didn't win with the Yankees. And that's true. It doesn't mean that Aaron Judge won't have his number out there when he's done. But, when you talk about greatest Yankees of all time, Don Mattingly's name does not come up. All right. I mean, he's not in the, you need, and Aaron Judge could be in that category when you talk about Ruth, DiMaggio, Gehrig, Mantle, Jeter. I mean, he could be in that category, but he has to win some titles in order for him to be in that category.
Yeah, well said. I don't know that you'll ever see two better back-to-back captains between Derek Jeter and Aaron Judge.
Perfect. In that market, with the scrutiny, the media, the tabloids, it's really unbelievable.
Yeah, Teflon. And the media loves him from what I can see.
Oh, yeah.
CD says, how about a rant on how athletes are the most monotone drones during interviews? Okay, so athlete
Some
and coach
athletes.
speak. I can tell you Malik wasn't very monotone today. Go check out his comments. Riley says Brian Cashman rant. That one might be too
If
easy.
the Yankees don't make it to the World Series, you'll hear many rants on Cashman because I've done many on him. I think he's the most overrated general manager in baseball.
You and Sea-Dog have been talking about Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman needing to go for years, and nothing happens.
Well, Hal Steinbrenner, the owner, wants him around.
Yep, this is true. This is very true.
So I can't rant on Brian Cashman right now. They're the number 1 seed in the American League.
Did you hear about the Ohtani 50-50 ball? So the home run that took him into the 50-50 club, it was set to go to auction. And then a lawsuit was filed in Florida by another person at the game that said, actually, they had the ball first. And
I don't give a damn. Who cares?
That could be rant worthy.
Seriously, who cares? Like, I care about, how much a home run ball is going for because some guy had it in his hands first and then got it taken away. I don't care. Sue whoever the hell you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what else I don't care about? I got some messages this morning and I saw it on social media. Do I really give a damn whether Kevin Herter's wearing a headband or not? Like, do people really care about that? Like, is that seriously something that you want to comment on social media about? Get a freaking life. I could rant on that very easily.
That would be fairly easy to do. Yeah, it's training camp. It's what Kings fans do. You know this.
Get a life. Seriously,
I do
like, yesterday I did a rant on this. What the hell's the slogan that you were talking about? The motto?
Climbing together.
Oh, please. Now today
together.
On day 2, I got to talk about Kevin Herter's headband. Really?
One fun thing coming from camp is Malik Monk is keeping the coaching staff accountable. He is stealing the practice plans. And if they are running over in certain segments, he's calling them out. So I thought that was pretty cute. You got to find a way to keep it fun, right, Grant?
I like Malik. I like everything about him, his personality, his approach to things, and he's a hell of a player. So, and by the way, he's got a guaranteed, $80+ million contract. He's probably feeling he can do whatever he wants.
Absolutely. Different spot.
And I don't mean that in a bad way, by the way,
Yeah, absolutely. Riley wants the headband rant.
You want the headband? All right.
All
You ready?
right.
You ready, Rhino?
You ready for the rant, baby?
Are you sure?
I am ready. Yes. Give it
All
to us. But first, tell us about that great new sponsor.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Grant's Rant is indeed brought to you by EDH Motors Automotive Reimagined. This is a long overdue new concept. And at EDH Motors, there's no obligation by them to any franchise or big corporation. Just 2 people, David and Adam, trying to do something different, trying to do something better. Now, here's what they do. They offer new vehicle brokerage. They also offer vehicle consignments where they sell your vehicle for you. And of course, they can buy your car, and they also will sell pre-owned vehicles, even your RV or boat. Now, you'll take delivery at their auto lounge in El Dorado Hills. I was there a couple of weeks ago. It's beautiful. So that means you don't ever have to go to a dealership, talk to a salesperson, get pressured by a manager, get squeezed in the F&L office. Again, it's simplification, communication. So the bottom line is that the right car fits your needs. It's really that simple, folks. And if you go to info@edhmotors.com, you'll get all the information you need. info@edhmotors.com. That's El Dorado Hills Motors, EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. And so happy to have them on as we get ready for what is going to be one hell of a basketball season. With that said, it is time for Grant's Rant. I got to tell you, dealing with what I dealt with yesterday, Ryan, what the hell was the name of that motto again? I'm sorry.
Climbing together. Climbing together, Nate.
Oh, please. Climbing together. You know what? Win some freaking games. So today, day 2 of training camp, I'm like getting some messages on my chat line earlier about Kevin Herter's not wearing the headband anymore. And then I get a couple of social media mentions at Grant Napier show about Kevin Herter's headband. Why would any fan give a damn about whether Kevin Herter is wearing a headband or not, unless you're one of the fans that like to go to the game and get close to the court and have a player throw you their sweaty, disgusting wristband or headbands or towels that they've just used to wipe down their whole body. Like, why is that something that is a fan? You know what? Let me tell you something. If I'm at a game and a player, after playing 48 minutes, is walking off the court and throws me their headband, I'm going to be like the guy at the wedding, all right, where the bride throws out the bouquet or whatever the hell you call it. You think I'm catching that? Right. Hell no. My hands are in my pockets. Bottom line, I don't care if Herter's wearing a pair of panties on his freaking head. I don't give a damn. You know what I care about? Be consistent. Make some shots and be better than you were last year. Come up big in big games, all right? Don't show up big once a week, twice a week. Show up big every day, every game, all right? Headband, no headband. Hey, Kings fans, I love you. You know I love you. We go back a long ways, right? We've been doing this for decades and decades and decades. But if you are really commenting on someone's headband, get a freaking life, would you please? And that's my rant for today.
Those Gardner, what do they call them? Gardner belts?
Those
are terrible.
I know I had my hands so far in my pockets that my hands were touching my kneecaps.
Right. I don't want anything to do with that. That's why I'm not marrying her. Come on.
Seriously.
Oh my goodness. Change, Grant. Change.
What's wrong? What's wrong with me, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you know what? It's that time of year. Panties on your head. That's interesting.
Well, I mean, I really don't want to see that either. But I mean, I don't care what somebody's wearing on the court, headband. I don't care. You know what I mean? There is one thing that I wish would happen, and it will never happen because it's like this across all sports. Call me old-fashioned.
Yeah.
I liked it when all the players had the same color footwear on. All right. So if you were playing, and I'll share this story, and I won't mention the name because I can't. I'm not even going to mention the city because that will be the giveaway. We were on the road with the Kings, and there had been a trade. And the player that was acquired only had one color of sneaker, right?
Yeah.
The team was wearing either white or black. I can't remember. Well, I do remember. They were wearing black, and this player only had white shoes with him. Okay?
Sure.
After the road trip, 3 weeks later, I'm talking to the trainer of the Kings, and he shared with me that the team received a bill from the hotel of like $3,000. Okay? With photographs. This individual who was getting ready to play a game that night went to the Ritz-Carlton bathroom on their marble countertop, took their white shoes and spray painted them black. At the end of the process, there were two huge footprints in black spray paint on the countertop of the beautiful Ritz-Carlton bathroom. They had to redo the entire countertop. You cannot make these things up.
How can you tell that story with a straight face?
But I did like it when they all had the same color shoes. How's that for you?
That is insane. You got to think it's probably harder to find a can of spray paint than a pair of black shoes.
I would agree with you. And here's something else you could have done. You could have called up the individual with the team and said, hey, just letting you know, I only have white shoes. No problem. What size do you wear? What kind do you wear? No problem. We'll have them for the game. Don't worry. They'll be waiting for you at your locker.
Well, maybe his previous team didn't have those services. Didn't have that guy in the locker room to call.
And, again, there are certain things. I mean, I saw all kinds of things. Like I will mention the name here. I'll never forget. We were in Cleveland at the Ritz-Carlton, and I was going to shoot around. And at the Ritz-Carlton in Cleveland, you have to take 2 elevators. So the lobby is on like the 6th floor, 7th floor. I can't, but it's so you get you come in on the ground floor. You get in one elevator, the elevator, then you go to your room elevator, right?
Yeah.
I get in the elevator and there are 5 guys in there on the team with a bellman holding a tray, and Ron Artest is eating his breakfast in the elevator on the way to the freaking bus for shoot around. Bellman's all dressed up in his black tuxedo or whatever. And I'm just like, and then we're in Milwaukee one day, and I get in the elevator, and Lawrence Funderburk is holding his tray with the beautiful silver china, the top that goes over the top of the beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He goes, I just went down to room service to pick up my food. I go, why would you go pick up your food? They bring it to you. Yeah, but the charge is $3.50, and I'm not paying. So I told him I'm coming down to pick it up. I go, whoa. You went down and picked up your food downstairs at room service? He goes, yeah, dude. You went to pick up. Yeah. I'm not paying $3.50 for them to deliver my food.
Yeah, because it's not just the $3.50. Then you got to tip the person that brings the food as well, Napes. I mean, he could have started a little business.
We were getting over $100 a day per diem, and he's making, and I'm just like, okay, enjoy your food. So, you see some weird things when you're traveling with a team.
So when the bellman was holding Artest's tray, was he looking at Artest? Is he looking in the opposite direction?
No, he was standing facing him, like literally as if you were like on an airplane and your food was sitting on your tray table. He was looking at Ron. When I walked in, the first thing I saw was the bellman's back. And I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? And I look around, I'm like, I'm like, Ron, are you kidding me? Like Ron, you're freaking, Ron, are you kidding me? Like, that's what I said to him. He started laughing. He goes, what, man? He goes, I can't miss the bus. He goes like, with a big smile, he's, what, man? I can't miss the bus.
How does that conversation even start, though? Excuse me, Bellman, can you just carry this as we walk along? A little more salt, please.
Anyway. So there you have it.
Oh my gosh.
Tomorrow. You ready for some football tomorrow?
Yeah, I just hate that it's a great divisional game.
I know. I don't understand that. I really don't. I hate divisional games on Thursday nights. But have you done your picks yet?
I have not. I'm going to give them a look over tomorrow. How about yourself?
No, I will do them either tonight before I go to bed or tomorrow. Yeah.
Love it. Falcons and Tampa Bay tomorrow night for those that don't know. And make sure you get your picks in. We've got some people climbing the ranks right now. Who is it? It's Matt Mania. They had 15 last week. And if we look at our leaderboard, Napes.
He had how many right last week?
15 out of 16.
That is unbelievable.
15 out of 16. Best.
He doesn't play with real money.
Telling you, needs to get to Vegas. H Mong Kid right now and Blue Chaos tied at 40 points apiece. Grant, they're both 40 and 23 on the year. That's pretty damn good.
What are you at?
I am at 33 and 30, over 500. I'll take it.
What about all picks matter?
You climbed the ranks. You are one game under 500. You are 31 and 32.
I'm back.
We're making it interesting.
Yeah,
let's go.
And if I win after week 17, I'll have a special headband made up for everybody. Okay.
Yes. Not panties though. A headband. Correct.
All right. That will wrap it up today. I will do a show. You're more than welcome to join me. I'll do a show tomorrow at 4:00 leading up to the game. So I'll be on at 4:00 tomorrow.
Great. Sounds like a plan. Thank you guys all for being here tonight. Fun show, Napes.
Awesome show. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for everything. And remember, subscribe and give us a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. Bye-bye, everybody.